We are ready. Here we go. This is podcast episode number 257. And
Wow. He's lying.
This is Darrell Hall, and this is the North Texas Learning Curve podcast. And welcome. I've got Carrie with me again today.
Yay.
Say hi, Carrie.
Hi.
And we have as our special guest today Dr. Carolyn Landel from the University of Texas at Austin.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We are thrilled that you are here today. This is amazing. So Carolyn is formerly a biochemist, molecular biologist by training,
Yep.
does a lot of STEM education work. And she happens to run I'm going to refer to RPPs a lot today, but she runs the statewide RPP called Lone Star P3. I'm going to let her explain exactly what that acronym means in a minute, but Carolyn's been doing this thing for way longer than I've even thought about what an RPP is, which Trend is. We've now confirmed, I think,
Yes.
that we really think Trend is like the up-and-coming RPP for all of North Texas now, right?
Yeah, and we got official notice too.
Oh my.
Oh, did we?
Yes, we did.
Well, I hope there's
I didn't
champagne
see
later.
From NERP?
From NERP.
I was like, do we get a certificate? What do we get?
Really?
I think we get a follow-up email.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Yes, but it just like hot off the email press is we just
that's
got an email.
amazing.
Yes.
Today?
So, just today. Just a few
that
minutes
is
ago.
great news.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, we made application to the National Network of Educational Research Practice Partnerships and on behalf of Trend, and they have now accepted us into the national network. So we are one of 55 now, I guess, RPPs across the country, which is super exciting
Really
for
exciting.
us.
Yeah.
As I keep telling Carrie, this rocket ship is just taking off. So.
You're holding on.
We haven't foiled me ever. And I don't know what kind of ride
know
we're
what?
in for.
Rockets have a mixed record, so be careful.
That's right. You're telling me about rockets. Carolyn's been landing rockets and stuff like that lately. Yeah. So let's just.
I would actually kind of like to build off of that. I'd love for you, Carolyn, if you would talk about some of your background and how you came into this current role.
Sure. Well, I think I'll offer two paths for how I got to the role. One is just personal story as a first-gen kid from a rural, economically depressed community that really had, transformed my economic status and opportunity and position as a consequence of education. So that's just a thing I hold really dearly. And, being in the state of Texas where we have more rural schools than most states have, or across the country as a whole, it's just an opportunity to really connect to that personally. No disrespect to the urbans, but just, there's just opportunity changes. So that's just personally what brought me into the field in general. Professionally, Darrell said, I'm a recovering biochemist. I was a researcher in that space for a long time, but my heart for education was something I was doing as a scientist on a volunteer basis for a long time over the course of my career, doing things with Association for University Women, things for girls in STEM, or for underprivileged kids, or for rural kids. Just that was just something I felt called to do as being as a professional, and then it just became clear there were opportunities to actually be that as a professional, and I could still apply the scientific mind and design mind and investigation mind, but apply it in more social settings and education research. So 30 years ago, packed up the beakers and petri dishes and moved into education, and I've worked in nonprofits and family engagement as well as school and system change, and now statewide work. So.
When you had the beakers still out, were you also teaching courses at that time too? Like what was your position exactly, or like what did that look like?
Yeah, I was a research scientist at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, so I worked for a scientist in that
Did we
lab.
talk about our connection here? That my father had just gone through treatment at
Oh.
Fred Hutch.
No, I did not
No,
know
I
that.
didn't know you went to Fred Hutchinson.
Yeah, so I was a research associate there, postdoc and associate there. So I was, and I was just full-time research there. But, I was the lab I was in, if there was a tour group coming through or a board member or a school
You're
group,
feeling drawn
they'll bring
to
that because they're like, okay, she can talk to kids, you know what I mean? So just that opportunity to engage people and show them that science is exciting and opportunity, not scary and crazy madmen in a basement, things like that.
So when I think about like kind of making that shift, so you have the motivation and this desire, what did you start to sort of like draw on or read or look to as you were starting to think about things like systems change or education and like, so what did that look like in terms of just like intellectually?
Yeah.
Sort of,
Funny story, I'll tell you about that. One is, so I moved into a nonprofit that was like a member organization for the biomedical and biotechnical society or association or fields. And so, all these emerging biotech companies were pooling their resources to create groups like this nonprofit to kind of help people better understand what is this, why it's important, what are the opportunities and all of that. And two things that I think really catapulted my career, I would say launched, but we've overdone the rocket thing already.
I mean, have we?
We can stay with the rocket, that's fine, that launched your career.
One is I just really good fortune. At that time, our State Department of Education had a really great director of science education, and he saw what we were doing and really wanted to bring our work into the community. And so I just got sucked into all the folks who were already doing that system change work, which really helped me think about, this was a nonprofit. This was in Washington State, And so there was that. And then I'm too old for you all, but this was also back in the day when Project 2061 in DC, Pinky Nelson was the director at the time.
Actually, I know Pinky well.
So, I actually know about this too.
Okay, well, so I'm also a former astronaut, so I'm just going to stick with the rockets. Anyway, our science director at our Department of Ed, I was going to DC for something. He's like, well, you should go meet Pinky. And naive young me, I was like, well, I'll just go find Project 2061 and knock on a door.
I did the same thing.
Did that. Had, by chance he was there, by chance he agreed to meet with a kid who knew nothing, and he sent me out with a stack of books, all the ones that you might imagine, Science for All Americans and all these things that just so I just feel like I got immediately enveloped in a community, and maybe that's also what draws you to the RPPs, right? I mean, it is really around a community of people who all bring different skills and expertise that are willing to help elevate everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one thing that's just like rising to the surface for me as I'm listening to you is these ways that you immediately were brought into networks with people and relationships with people.
Yeah.
And also just like you seeking that out too, and whether it's naivete or if it's just like kind of like a willingness to make those connections. It strikes me as just like a really important part of the work that we're doing.
Yes.
So fast forward a little bit, can you talk a little bit more about like your current role? Like what does that even mean? Yeah. What does it entail? Yeah.
Let's talk about Lone Star P3. I want you to kind of just for everybody lay it out. What is Lone Star P3?
All right, sit down. No, get comfortable. No, I'm joking. I mean, I think simply stated, we're a statewide network of member organizations, and those members come to us, our core members at least, they come to us because they have a research backbone entity that has long-standing commitments to their community partners. Some of those are school districts, sometimes they're community-based organizations or other higher ed, but they're saying, we want to apply our research acumen to support our community in answering the questions that they're trying to work through to solve, disparities or struggles or challenges as they're helping their students or community prosper. So we bring our researchers and those practice partners together. And in the case of Lone Star P3, we've also said the policy environment matters. Right. And so we bring in policy advocacy organizations, and we bring those three perspectives, research, practice, and policy, together in a room and talk about what are the common challenges and struggles we're facing. How do we each experience those differently? Because a researcher might have an interest in CTE courses that might not have the full picture as the CTE director in a rural or urban district, or what the policy landscape is or the policy environments. When we bring those folks together, we get a much fuller picture of what's really going on, and then how does that help us design a more thoughtful investigation to create new insights or solutions or strategies. So statewide network that really works hard to bring those three different research, practice, and policy perspectives together to design thoughtful and agile investigations so that we can answer questions in a timeline that is relevant to a district and relevant to our policy cycle, our legislative cycles.
But how did it come together? How did it, tell us about the initiation of it? Because that's, I think for us, it's critical because that's where we are. You know, we're forming this new RPP thing here.
Yeah.
And for other people out there that might hear this podcast and are thinking of doing an RPP, it's good to hear, like, what's the story and what does it sound like? Like, I mean, we talked today over lunch, and it was, like, obvious to me, like, you have got a lot on your plate, but obviously it took a while to get there. So how did it get started?
Yeah, and some of how it started preceded my position, so, you know, I get to retell it in the way that I understand
That's
it.
cool.
So, but, you know, really in that era of COVID through post-COVID, whatever that looks like, there was a lot of discussion among our different higher ed institutions feeling like, how can we be in best service to our district partners who are now being faced with making big decisions about programs and resources to address a problem that no one had ever been encountering before. So there was this realization, which I think everybody had before, but was amplified in that setting, like, we're not really set up well to be as responsive as we'd like to be.
Yes.
And so that just kicked off a whole series of conversations. It started with some higher ed partners and then some nonprofit folks just coming together around the state saying, how might we do that differently? And our core members in our network are existing RPPs for the most part. The Houston Education Research Consortium.
That's what's different about you.
UTL Pasos,
state
Paso
level,
del Norte,
right.
right? So they're already kind of doing local work, but they didn't even know that there was another RPP in the, you know, right? So, so we're like, how do we take these folks who've already sort of cracked the code a little bit about working locally, connect them, so things that they're learning can be shared better among them, and how do we amplify, put that out more so their reach is expanded, and then even decide when are there times where we work collectively across all those institutions to do something and get some economies of scale and some credibility from that scale as well. So started with a lot of just, you know, kind of motivated by crisis and a lot of folks who wanted to work differently together.
Yeah.
Some design conversations about what could a statewide network look like, and then I took over sort of on that pivot where there'd been a lot of design conversations and people like, all right, are we ever gonna be this thing? Like, you know, when do we turn the key? And so I was brought in to sort of help them move out of just the kind of quarterly design meetings and have someone who was thinking about this day to day to help it really stand up and move forward. And so that was February 2023.
So what are the activities though, the things that you do like on a daily, like on a regular basis with this network to keep them engaged and doing things, because that's what we are right now.
Yeah.
We're holding meetings and doing these podcasts and stuff like that.
So I'm gonna offer kind of two different chapters because I think what we did in our first year was very intentional and some things look different now because of where we are. So the first year we met in person twice a year, and then we also held virtual meetings almost monthly. And those meetings were really just for like our members and their people, right? And the in-person meetings were packed with Google Docs that allowed for people to work through structured protocols collaboratively together, and that was how we helped generate perspective and then funnel those perspectives into priorities that we would act on. And in that first year, we used those in-person structured collaborative protocols and the virtual touch points in between to really build relationship, to establish kind of norms of collaboration. What does it look like to work in this collaborative space? What does it look like to make sure everybody feels like they have voice? And create our first sort of product, which was a research agenda around questions related to sort of students exiting high school and moving into either additional education or work. So our sort of charge our first year was to show, can we as a network use an inclusive process that represents these different voices and prioritize a set of research questions that we could all agree, like, yes, if we could work on these, this would be of value and importance, and that's what we did. As we're moving forward now, there were 4 strands in that research agenda, so now we have 4 different research collaboratives that are investigating, and they're doing all their work in other settings now, right? They have working groups that are running So now we're like, okay, how do we pivot and not just kind of be figuring out how to operate as a network, but how does our network be more transparent and inclusive? So we still have monthly near virtual meetings, but they are open to all, and I hope I'll see you Thursday at 2:00. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Right,
No,
where
good.
Like Thursday, like tomorrow?
Thursday
Yeah.
like tomorrow.
Okay.
So, and our research collaboratives are all gonna present sort of what their early insights and progress and findings and struggles are, and so you can go and hear that. Or, we have a statewide data council, we also launched that first year, and they're gonna share, in the November meeting, you know,
Okay.
what their products are. So
Okay.
now we use our virtual meetings less for like business within the family, and how do we share the
sharing
work of
out.
the
More is
family
like
to the
getting more
whole
people
world, right?
engaged in that.
Yes, and we
That's
meet
so
as a
important.
whole network just once a year now. Again, if you're gonna bring people together in real time and real space, like make sure it's high impact, high value. And so it's a chance to, you know, that is more product oriented and people, but we also are sharing what's happening across all the strands. Cause as there's more work to do, there's more effort now on how to make sure everybody's getting access and visibility to that. And anticipating it, because at the end of the day, the research agenda and the research collaboratives are producing findings that we'll be able to act on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing we're doing now with these events is helping create anticipation of what's gonna come out, who needs to know about that, how and when will you have audience with them, how do we prepare for
Yeah.
that? So keeping the work visible
Yeah.
while these investments are ongoing is trying to build momentum so that when the findings are there, people already know, okay, that's coming out in this date, we're meeting with our district coordinator on that, and I'm ready. Whereas if we're just visible till the findings come out, we're like, oh, I wish we'd have known because we just met with our, you know, so
Okay.
it's a lot of trying to create momentum so that when the findings come out, our policy folks know and they know they can bring that into the next session, our practice folks know and they can
Yeah.
bring it to their leadership.
That's important, I think, for us to think about, at least for our RPP, how we generate that momentum, because this whole notion of, because the people you're working with, they're crossing boundaries for like the first time.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
us, it's like you're crossing boundaries for the first time working outside. What your normal organization structure is with
Yeah.
other people, and how you do that on a regular basis and keep that going,
Yeah.
that momentum.
Yeah.
That's an unusual dynamic to
Yeah.
try to set up.
I think there's something notable that I think is like, you know, you all know, you think about evaluation and assessment all the time, and you know, a lot of our folks spend a lot of time in the longitudinal database to think about that, but I think there's some really interesting measures that are worth noting. Our first like convening of the whole network when we pivoted out of design, we had about 35 people. I have a picture of that, we're all together, right? By the next year, we had like 75 people. So like for me, that's already just a measure. Like first was like, could I get people there? And now
Yeah.
people like, can I bring 7 people instead of 5? You know, so like that's
Yeah.
important. And then the other thing, you know, the first year, these virtual sessions, I was like, how do I make this so people want to come and they're a part and they can do a thing? Now, you know, like, oh, okay, the research collaborators are presenting at this one. Oh, the day, like I'm just
Yeah.
making sure we get the word out and we welcome folks. But the network members and the different working groups, they're doing the presenting and carrying the load. So like our work load is expanding, but that's because it's really distributed across.
Yeah.
We have over 33 researchers involved in the research collaboratives.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I don't present on Thursday, I welcome, I give some updates, but then I turn the reins
Turn
over
it
and
over.
they do it. You know, there's
100%.
24 people on our data council and they're producing their products, and they'll present the sessions. So that making sure the network is carrying that and owning it and they're feeling like it's
Yes.
a value to them and a value to the state
Well,
is
and
the
I-
secret
yeah.
sauce there.
Yeah, and I think a little bit about the owning it and how you and back to, you know, Darrell's comment about this, like keeping the momentum going.
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about starting out with the like agreed upon protocols, people's
Yeah.
voices at the table, you know, that seems like an integral part of like having this sort of like shared investment, right?
Yeah.
And direction. I'm wondering for that, like, did you have a starting point? Were there specific resources or tools that you were using to guide you know, you sat down with these Google Docs and you're sort of iterating together, like what was the starting point there?
Yeah, well, I'll say I'll give credit to my homies at the Dana Center at UT Austin, where, you know,
Yeah.
I started at UT. You know, protocol-driven work is just core to what we do,
Yeah.
you know, and so, like, I knew that a protocol is a way to help norm behaviors, right? It's structured, it helps people know, it gives people access to a task if it's something we haven't done together, or a researcher might approach the task differently than like, it just creates an equal playing field. So protocols seem like the right way to go. And then you are already connected to folks like NERP. These are folks who also have lots of resources on their website for doing that. And then I will also say, all of our in-person convenings, we form a design team. It's been the magic number of 4, arbitrary, you could have however many, but we picked 4 people from different member institutions to help, okay, what should this look like? I'd create a draft, they would iterate. So like, some of it is just inspired from prior work and existing models, and then again, it's bringing your people in. Those 4 people are helping you refine the protocols. Then when you come to the actual event, they're also your table facilitators because they've been a part of developing it, they know, and they can help bring people in. And we bring a different design team for every convening, so that's also building capacity along the way where people understand, one, this isn't just a Carolyn show, this is our network show, and more people are understanding how we go about design. And then I like to think that that may also have ripple effects like, oh, we can use this protocol in our group, or if we adjusted this protocol, and that's the thing, like all of these things are adaptations of something that already existed, and it's just modeling a way of working and having everybody feel like they can leverage that, adapt it, and apply it in their setting. Because what you might need to do in Denton might look different than what our folks down in the valley do. But there's a tool that they can adapt it and they can use their own.
So I got a couple of questions for you. One has to do with the policy component then. Okay, so you get this momentum going and you got people doing work, the research kind of work and stuff, but then the translation into, I mean, how do you work with people in policy, with outside of, I mean, are they actually a part of helping you develop some of the, because you've got like, I think 3 major initiatives ongoing right now. You can talk about that maybe too, but I'm really interested in how this transitions into, like, does the work you do feed policy, or does it go both ways?
100% it goes both ways, and I will give a shout out to my policy peeps. I know we're not quite at the place where we're the reliable source for the session released last time, but we're hoping to get faster and more able to do that. But like I said, in any of these meetings that we have, all 3 of those constituents are at the table. Whenever there's a topic that we're trying to flesh out what the research agenda would be, we want researchers, policymakers, practitioners, always. So we want to hear how each of those constituencies sort of understand that, that topic, the field, what our policy folks are going to be right away to tell us, ooh, that's a lightning rod, wait. Or, you know what, that's not super hot topic now, so don't expect a lot of action, but if it's important, let's start nurturing it, because it can take a couple sessions for these things to raise. So they help us understand, they also understand, like, when things are changing, like, we were doing some work around CTE and dual credit, and with changes that are happening in assessment and accountability, well, how might we need to adapt some of the questions we were asking or add, because there's new questions that we didn't know when we did that. So when we developed those initial research questions. So it's definitely ongoing. They're always there at the start. They definitely want to be there at the start. They don't want us, creating chaos when they're trying to have a common message. And then, we're still new, so I can't say I have 4 studies I can tell you that we've armed our policy folks with, but that's our goal, that when they go to the next session, they are the messengers. So they're the ones with the relationships, with the acumen and the know-how to work in that space. So we do the research, we, generate the findings, we can generate implications or recommendations, and then they'll either invite a researcher to join them, or they carry that message through their community, since that's where they have access.
This makes me think a lot about our budding relationship with Commit.
Yeah.
Because it seems like through that relationship, then we are kind of bringing those 3 constituencies together, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we also have another, at least for our regional RPP, we have another component to the policy, which is school board trustees. These people, they have real questions about the utility of things that are going on within their districts, and they have questions about, are these things doing what we want them to do? And it's good for it. We're just now cracking that nut. We've got two new faculty that are just now on board with us with Trend, Dr. Stephen Waddell and
Lisa.
Dr. Lisa Padavia. And the two of them are really well connected with superintendents and assistant superintendents throughout the Metroplex. And I think that's a really large network of people that have very different policy concerns. I mean, they don't have like, it's not like at the state level probably where you're working, where you've got people that are saying, well, this is coming up in the legislative session and we're all worried about this right now. Each school district board is worried about a different kind of thing.
Yeah. We talk about that as sort of little p policy and big P policy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So, you
okay.
know, we do work with, Commit has been a great partner in that space, Educate Texas, E3 Alliance, Texas 2036. These are all folks that work with us in our network that bring the kind of policy acumen we need to think about when we're thinking about engaging the agencies, or, because those are often involved in rulemaking or things, or the legislature. But, when we're bringing our network together, we always say, you need to bring your district leader. So maybe that's
Absolutely.
and so they are very interested in how are they setting up their district systems and structures, that small p policy,
Yeah.
to implement the state policy in ways that work, or are they
Yeah.
getting what they find? So you get that small p policy from whether it's your board members or district leaders who are in the conversation with you as well. And I think our regional partners, that's super important. Like those, your constituency is that,
That's
or
it.
the Denton, whatever size circle you have. And so those are folks you need to understand and need to feel like they have a place to go with their questions and that you can be a trusted source in helping them answer them.
Yeah, I'm really excited that's the next phase for us,
Yeah.
is really beginning to engage these people in our Trend network. And we probably need to think about ways that, I don't know, maybe you have advice for us on the best ways that we could start to engage them at their own level, so
Yeah.
that they feel like they have, well, I guess if we were to take a page out of your book, is to put all three constituency groups together really as we talk about things, so that everybody's in on the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think you're already making great strides. Like you talked about, you're working with Commit. Well, Commit works with the Texas
Well,
Impact
yeah,
Network,
yeah.
the Texas Urban Cup. So like leveraging relationship to get trusted that's a bridge that they'll recommend someone and they'll join you. Things start small. So like I said, our first community we had 30 people and then we now have 75, 80. So like you don't need to worry about getting them all. You need to worry about getting one or two that maybe
Okay.
Commit or others can bring you in. And they know those two are gonna, if they have a good experience, they're gonna tell their, you know what I mean? It snowballs. So like
sure.
start the, whatever the 1,000-mile journey starts with the first mile, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the network starts with its first
we went
people.
away from Rocket.
Yeah, there we go,
Oh.
yeah.
Or maybe it is.
I guess
it
it's a
could
long
be
mile,
related,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I don't think you have to worry about can we get them all, like who are your champions who will start early
Yeah.
and then they will.
Yeah, there are gonna be some innovators that come in early on, and those are the ones you
and then
you
they'll
work with
build
first.
it, and then the other people are like, I wanna be a part of that, so, yeah,
Very practically.
yes.
Like hearing, so bringing people together and hearing from them, right?
Mhm.
Is that in those sort of monthly meetings? Is there a different way of sort of hearing from people? Just kind of like, gathering the
Yeah,
conversation and the need and the, like, what's bubbling up
yeah.
for folks.
We try to use a lot of channels, so, we have a quarterly newsletter, and that'll feature some big story about something broadly that's happening in the network, but we also always do 2 member stories, so,
Okay.
so each of the members get a chance to also share something that they're doing that may or may not be something that's happening across the network, but we want people to know about it. A network should be sharing all of those kinds of things. So, we have a newsletter to kind of get word out. We do these virtual monthly meetings, we do it in person regularly, and then, like I said, we have lots of, our research collaboratives all have 6 or so people on them, our data council has 20 people on them, so we just try to create different structures so people can plug in to the thing that they are excited about, and then, these things just start to, you go and you meet Darrell there and like, ooh, I want to work. These things have a way to kind of create organic connections and aren't necessarily something the network is always directing.
Yeah.
We have things that the network directs as we bring in resources and we have deliverables and promises to make, but we also, a big part of our charge is just to make sure all these folks are
Yeah.
in touch,
Mhm.
connecting to one another, that things that they're each doing is being shared.
Yeah,
At
there's
our-
visibility and opportunity.
Yeah. And at our in-person events, we always do little showcases. They're not long, but over the course of the day and a half we spend together, everybody will get to do a little bit of a highlight, the things they want to celebrate
Yeah.
or an invite, a thing they're wanting some input or feedback or things to solve and try to create connectivity. That, not gonna, I should say, I'm offering all these, we do this with this. Those aren't all perfect things. We're still trying to figure out what is the best way because there's so much to share. Like you
Yeah.
could spend 2 days together where people just
Yeah.
talked. And so there's always this tension of like, we have deliverables that we're promising to do and things like that. And then also how do we create those informal times? So
We need to get a
yeah.
couple of your really interesting ones that bubble up on the pod.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get them to come up and be on the pod with us.
Oh, yeah. We should definitely get Commit here and Educate Texas.
Yeah,
They're
we're
both
working
here
on that
local,
one.
so,
That's up soon.
I'll let
Yeah.
them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Educate Texas is on our radar
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
I know. So
Yeah.
that's good. So let's talk about some of the researcher here.
Sure.
I'm curious as to the kinds of research activities that you're involved in. If you could tell us a little bit about specifically some of the research projects, because you've got so many different researchers, I'm sure you must have some things that are really,
Yeah.
really compelling kinds of research activities ongoing right now.
Yeah, so Truth in Advertising, our network at this stage is really trying to build an agile research enterprise where we're not necessarily launching 4 and 5 year RCT kinds of models. We're trying to be responsive in timelines that districts need to make decisions about a program or an intervention, and again, in terms of the legislative cycle. So that by definition is gonna put some bounds on what we do. So when we launched our Pathways Research Collaboratives, I'll say a little bit about what they're investigating. You know, we had sub-awards from grants that we put out to the researchers to do this work, but it was very clear, you need to design 15 to 18 months. So that eliminates lots of things, but so you make those terms and that's what you could do. And that's, our districts are like, we're gonna be deciding on this in 2 years. So finding more in 5 years isn't going to help us, or it might help refine later, but they still need something now. So these aren't to say one ought not to do 5-year studies, but we're trying to feel like that often doesn't exist, just that shorter term. So our first foray into this, like I said, we generated a kind of consensus agenda on pathways, and that had 4 strands. The first was around academic and career advising. The second was around dual credit and CTE coursework. The other was around workforce aligned instruction, particularly around industry-based certifications. And the last one was around indicators of post-secondary readiness. So each of those look very, very different. The academic and career advising, while a larger question is, of course, which advising programs are getting better student outcomes, got to back that wagon up and just figure out what are the advising programs, what are their features. And so that team is really starting at that earlier level, like can we work across Commit and Up Partnership and TextCan and really gather and make a database which will be available to all with all these different college access programs that districts are using and how do we characterize them, and then that becomes a resource that can be used for additional research.
That's great.
So it will help people look and see and compare and see what do I have and how does that compare to others and our like districts, all that. So they're really starting more fundamental than the actual question, but we needed that thing to create, and then there's lots of questions that can follow up from that.
But those some of those really are longer term follow-up.
That's right. So that's what I mean. We're just breaking it down.
An advising program takes a long time to really observe the impact.
That's right. Our dual credit and CTE folks, again, are looking at what courses are students taking, what influences are driving their decisions. They're looking at what teachers are being assigned to teach those, or what are the characteristics of teachers being assigned to those, how do those affect the student outcomes. So that one is using a lot of data from our ERCs to kind of look at, we have a lot of go dual credit, but like are all dual credits equal, and how do we help kids and families and advisors make good decisions around that. And then the same thing, the industry-based certification strand is just trying to better understand, are the IBCs that are offered, are they really aligning with the local economy or not? Are they getting students work or not? Is the work that they're getting sustainable wage or not?
Those
So
are good questions.
right?
to-
So
yeah.
really digging into that, and those two categories, those two strands, really play into a lot that's happening now in the accountability and assessment reforms, because these are gonna be valued in different ways, and so we wanna make sure that, and they also relate to House Bill 2, House Bill 8, because schools can get funding for students completing these things, and we wanna make sure that, that the reward the district would get is also getting the student proper reward, that certificate didn't just earn a district a resource if it didn't also earn the student a job or a credential. And then the last piece is kind of cool, and again, using longitudinal data from the ERCs, but you know, we have a lot of outcome measures for post-secondary readiness. Did you take TSA or did you complete a dual credit, right? There's sort of, this means you are college ready. But we have some folks applying some machine learning techniques to look at a range of indicators and try to say, how do we look at all the data that we collect about kids and tell a better story about whether or not they are college ready and what kinds of interventions might help them if they're not. So, you know, instead of just sort of the proxy for completion, how do we just look at the profile of a student, given the data we already collect on them anyway, and see, can we make a profile that will help us better understand where that student is, whether they are likely to stay on course, and if they're not, what might we do? So that's a little bit of flavor of the, and I'll give a shout out to Ginger, our research program manager, and all of our collaboratives for
Good.
butchering the details of your studies. And again, invite you to the Thursday virtual session that we're having, where they're gonna speak directly and you can answer their questions.
The you giving shout outs to people though does make me wonder a little bit about like staffing and just sort of like how you're distributing the work. So so clearly there's these sort of, you know, hubs of people, right? But like in your office and like how help me understand that a little bit.
There's 3 of us.
Okay.
So there's me, and then Ginger Gossman, she is our research program manager. She just joined in late January. So once we had our research agenda and we knew the research enterprise is getting up and running, she formerly was at the coordinating board and also was a researcher at AISD. So she knew the data systems, she knew a lot of the players, and she could really get in the weeds with all of our research collaboratives to make sure, you know, they're getting the support that they need or they're making the progress they need. So she really handles the day-to-day of all of that. And then Chloe Calloway is our sort of project manager and events manager. She helps with all, you know, if you're getting emails from me about an event or getting emails from the network, Chloe is sending those out. She supports our LinkedIn page and all of our, you know, whenever we're doing an event in person. And just, you know, when all those things are happening at once, she just makes sure we're meeting all of our deliverables at the right time. So so there's just the 3 of us. But I say that it's 3 of us as like the core staff, but the grants that we bring in, we try to push back out. So like I said, there are 33 researchers that are involved in our current work. They all are getting sub-awards from us to do that. And so, you know, or we use design team, we lean on the network to do things. So our hope is that we stay, I mean, it's a lovely idea to think about staffing up a large enterprise, but really we want to be kind of a lean staff so that we can ebb and flow with, you know, things as resources come and go, and again, lean on our institutions to carry the mantle and move us forward and not have a big, you know, tax on a high staff burden, like let's let our members really own that.
Yeah, it makes me think a lot about, I mean, if the work is distributed in that way and you're really thinking about kind of putting resources and the funding like out into the network, then it allows you to be nimble, and it's not sort of putting all the sort of work and expertise on like a staff here, because the point right is that it is like out.
That's right.
That's
right. And you know, I think we're still finding that sweet spot. Like we have people come together all the time, and we are, you know, asking, they're giving a lot of time to come to these events. Like that is their time, and time is money, as they say, right? So, and it's also their intellectual capital. They're helping us understand these topics from their expertise and vantage point, and so that can feel extractive unless we're intentional about if you offer us this, we hope to then reward with that. So like we're
Yeah.
trying to make sure that for anything we're drawing out of folks, that we're also able to provide some sort of reward that feeds them, feeds their institution and region, and then also
They're really
feeds the network. So
Yeah.
that's, I don't think we always get that right, but that's a thing we
Yeah,
hold
that's
in
a
our
your
sights.
aim.
Yeah.
With the 33 researchers,
Yeah.
the ones that you've subawarded out, this is the question that plagues me sometimes is,
Okay.
how do and I don't have the funding right now to lure them in to do this, but how do you identify those individuals and associate them with your projects? Is it important that they understand practitioner perspectives? Are they involved in those discussions earlier on somehow before they get subawarded these things? Or what happens to make that, to get them engaged where they're actually then on your team of researchers that are doing work?
Yeah, well, some of that happens at the regional level. So, Erin Baumgartner, who's the director of the Houston Education Research Consortium, she has a team of researchers and she, they already do RPP work, right?
Okay.
So most of our members come from institutions where their researchers are doing RPP work. So there's a lot of that that's already embedded in the DNA.
Yeah.
That said, I believe part of our job as a network is also to grow capacity.
Yeah.
So, some of our members are newer or don't yet even necessarily have a formal RPP or collective impact structure. And by being a part of our work, they witness what that looks
Yeah,
like. Or
right.
by saying, well, if you're gonna be here, you need to bring your district partner, they start, so not everybody is, HERC is probably our longest standing RPP in the state and brings a lot of experience and know-how about that. And some of our folks who are newer learn and benefit a lot by seeing what that looks like. So I guess I would say, I would avoid rigid purity tests on that regard. If you have folks who want to learn that, we have a lot of researchers who haven't done it, but they know they need to and want to, and that's how they'll make their work relevant.
Okay.
And so it's up to us to set up structures and processes and norms in the room that almost, force is too strong a word, but those protocols go a long ways in terms of helping everybody behave in a way that mirrors the values you want to have.
Yeah.
And then people walk away going, or see how that was,
Sure.
or we debrief that. So for me, it's yes, you need a certain distribution of folks who bring that, but I'm if folks want to be here and want to learn, let's do it.
Yeah, it's like the entry into the door really is the commitment and the
Yes,
values
that's
and
right.
the
It's
desire.
exactly,
Right?
yeah.
And we shouldn't be we shouldn't sort of punish people or exclude them because they haven't had exposure to models that are working or
That's
the
right.
resources, right?
That's right.
And so I love that.
Yeah.
So it's hey, you're welcome in the door and here's sort of here are the agreed upon practices and approaches. And then there's sort of almost a tiered mentoring thing happening too,
Yeah.
right?
It's not necessarily explicit, but it just is.
It
You know what I mean?
is,
It just happens.
Because I really think developing that capacity, we've got a lot of faculty here, for example, and so do our other higher ed consortium members. They've got a lot of faculty. It could really be of use, but boy, getting them engaged for the first time and helping them see that role that they play in service to the practitioner side of things.
That's why I think about as we continue to organize our trend meetings and have gatherings, where while we might have people come in and talk about some evaluation work they're doing with the district, right? Really be thinking about who has a partnership in the sort of truest sense of a research practice partnership, where you really came together and said, hey, these are the problems in practice for us, and how do we collaborate around them? And because I think we can use the term partnership pretty loosely. And we sort of say, as a researcher, I'm coming in, I have this idea of what you probably need and you're gonna try it out, and so now we're partners. Where actually it's very researcher driven rather than, practitioner driven and co-constructed.
Yeah.
And I think the more models, Darrell, that we can help develop and that that we can put in front of our community here, the richer the work is
I
going to
mean,
be.
just our two recent limited experiences with this are so dramatically different. What we've got with Michael Siller and his NIH grant work with Hurst Bedford, that was all driven from his grant work, and he needed a place to go test that out and look for an amenable district, and he found one through the network, which was great. But then the other side of it is to be approached by Commit and say, hey, we've got these 12 districts that are doing this thing, and they really need to know how well it's working.
Yeah.
That's a completely different kind of formula in terms of how you connect the researchers.
Yeah. And
So-
there's light touch ways that start, like, there's research that you've done, like some questions that districts have, there may be insights on that. May not be
Yes.
their specific program, they're wondering about best practices on X, Y, or Z.
Mhm.
So sometimes the conversation initially is just like, how can we help them better understand the current research that's
Yeah.
already out there? So you don't have to launch a whole thing.
Sure.
You can just help broker those conversations or synthesize some things into something that is not a journal article, not a lit review, but
Something
something a
usable.
district can use, a
Yeah.
presentation ready
That's right.
PowerPoint or a how-to or
That's
a
where our
top tip,
Office
right?
of Research Consulting
So
staff
like
can
some
come in
things that you
and-
could do there that don't require
Exactly.
huge resources, just some translation work. And then that creates appetite for doing more. So,
Yeah, and
find places to start.
Yeah, and it sort of, it builds some trust, it builds relationship, it builds a culture of reciprocity
Yeah.
there. And I think this makes me think a lot, Darrell, about our conversation with Ben Higgins at Commit of having these like, smaller, and something you said too, starting smaller, like
Mhm.
having these like small little, they're little, they can feel, big in terms of their importance
Yes.
to, whoever's in in that kind of practitioner position. But if you start small, showing that this is a trustworthy relationship, then you're building over time. And so it's like, rather than doing some grandiose thing,
Mhm.
let's go apply for the 5-year NSF, whatever, but to say, what's something small we can do to build that
Right.
relationship
Yeah.
and to learn each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a long ways, yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, what are your kind of final parting thoughts for us as we kind of, because we're pretty new to this, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say, first of all, like, celebrate that you've started. Like, we
Mhm.
even just this last year produced a little 1-year milestones page, because it's easy to go, oh, we didn't get enough to session, or we haven't started these yet, or this was 3 months
I
behind.
already know we want to take a
Right?
photograph at
But,
today's meeting.
yeah.
Learned that
So,
already.
so it's important to just celebrate, no matter where you are,
Mhm.
that you are there, and that's further than you would be if you hadn't started at all. So like, you should just,
Yeah.
I think we have to celebrate, so I would just say that's first of all. And then, yeah, I just think, I would say also, don't over-engineer, don't over-design,
push it.
especially in your first year. Like, you don't know right now what your RPP will look like in 2 years, and enjoy that. Like,
Mhm.
celebrate that
Okay.
versus we need to map that out, we need to map it out. It's so
Mhm.
tempting to map it all out, and then you end up writing something that's prescriptive that isn't what you're going to be anyway. So get started, try some things, and then be disciplined
Build
about
on
like,
that.
that worked, that didn't work, and and you will evolve and you will figure out what your RPP is by being one, not by designing it.
I think
ahead
that's
of
a
time.
really good point.
It's a really good point, and I was gonna say, and I think the good news for us is that I think we're both kind of dispositioned that way
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want to make that point to people that are listening right now. Carrie and I are in this mode of just wanting to listen to people that
Yeah.
come to us and say, hey, we really would like to do some research. We don't know how to approach you guys. We don't know what to do.
That's right.
But we want to enter at least into a conversation with you about how that could look.
Yeah.
And we don't know it either, frankly, on
Yeah.
our end. But together, that's how we work it out.
That's
and
right.
so to hear that we're at least, I just want people to hear that we're willing to do that.
That's
I
right.
think that's the message that I really want to get across
Yeah.
And
today.
that's our heart, that's our motivation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We want,
Yeah.
That we're amenable to trying to make those relationships work in whatever form those need to come about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
And I
don't
think
know
you'll
what to do.
sense, you're gonna find the point where like, we want to listen, we want to hear, we want to ponder, and then there's going to be a place where like, okay,
You
we've been
take
talking
action.
about this, now let's do. When you feel that, then you're like, all right, we've heard a lot, here's what I think we've heard, let's try being that, and then find a thing that you can do that is accessible with whatever limited time and resources you have. Maybe it's just creating a little synthesis product on some particular active practice that you're supposed to read about. Just what's a thing you can all produce together, because producing something, is like, and then that just creates momentum. So give yourself time to figure out what it is. When you feel like people are like, okay, what are we doing? Like, do something.
Yeah.
Like, do something.
Yeah.
And then that will help people go, oh, that is what we want to be. You're like, wait, I thought we were going to be this. Oh, well, how do we, so doing is the way to figure out what to be, and just cycle through the listening and doing, and that's what will create your RPP.
Sounds good. That sounds so easy.
I
It's just so easy. Just do it.
And I
I
think
feel like there's like a really popular like clothing brand or something that has this.
yeah, what
Just
is
do
it?
it. Yeah,
It's
what is
kind of
that?
small though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking for something bigger.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And I guess I'll have
We
to
can
put
go
a
back to
shameless.
rockets now. If you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I have to put in a shameless plug for connect with others who are on the same journey with you. So you're already connecting with NERP, which is great.
Yeah.
And there's this statewide network called Lone Star P3 that is
I've
trying
heard
to
that.
connect
So
our
excited
PPs
about
around the
being
state of
involved in this.
Texas.
Yeah.
Join our virtual meetings.
Yeah.
Connect some of our folks and let us connect you to those. And fellow travelers will buoy you through the hard times, and we'll celebrate with you on the victories.
So let's say we want to get connected. We want to get the emails. We want to know
Yeah.
what events are going on, and for anybody else listening,
Yeah.
how do people get
Yeah.
involved?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, which is lonestarp3.org, and go to connect, and there's a little form you fill in, and if you send me that, I will make sure you get on our newsletter list, mailing list, and that's how you will hear about our virtual events. If you're not one who wants emails and newsletters, there is an events page, and all of our virtual events, which are open to all, open to all of our events are listed on there, and there's a little registration button to click, and you just, submit your name and email, and that will send you the link for the event. And, the more we have there, the merrier. And we always have something to share, but we always are in breakout groups. You'll get to meet the other people and talk with folks
Great.
in the network. So, all kinds of things can come out of that aren't necessarily just what the presentation was about. So encourage you to check, just check the events page out, and then if you want to hear from us, go to that Connect page.
Road trip
and
to
find out.
Austin.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We got a road trip in the future.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do that too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This has been really
awesome.
eye-opening for us.
Yeah.
It's really good to
Well,
hear somebody that's got a
we're
little more
only a couple
experience.
years ahead of you, so it's fun to be like, I feel like I still talk about us as new, and so that you're like, you know so much, I'm like, well, let's not play that up too hard,
Like,
so,
whoa, yeah.
fellow
Don't
travelers
admit that on that
and,
pod.
no,
We just set you up as this expert.
yeah,
so-
just to say,
okay, everybody.
expert is just the doing of it, and you're already there, so,
She
yeah.
really knows a lot more than she's letting you know. Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you again.
me. Yeah.
Really appreciate you for being here today. All right, we'll see you next time on the podcast. See ya.